We just discovered the true origins of Emu, arguably the most mysterious character in One Piece, and how she is related to a Greek myth about a queen named Cassiopeia who was known for angering the god of the sea, Poseidon. And by the end of this video, you'll be shocked about the connection between Emu and Cassiopeia, how this myth correlates to One Piece, and what to expect from Emu in the future. Real quick, if you are new to either me or Sunlight, please be sure to subscribe. Also, shout out to 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚝 on TikTok who made the connection in the first place. Alright, now the million-dollar question. Who the hell is Cassiopeia? Well, she was a queen who was known to be very vain and constantly boasted about how beautiful she and her daughter were. And she took it a step even further by claiming she was more beautiful than the nymphs of the sea that are called the mermaids. This really angered Poseidon, who then wanted to punish Cassiopeia by sending a monster named 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚝, pretty much just a big-ass sea monster, kinda like a sea king. Although, other sources also suggest that he didn't send a monster, but rather created huge floods. But in a swift turn of events, Perseus came in and saved both Cassiopeia and her daughter by slaying 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚝, and was able to free them of punishment, and this got Poseidon very pissed. Poseidon, in retaliation to Cassiopeia being saved, created another punishment for her, which was to be chained to a seat in heaven, and the constellation based on her name mirrors that. Now, let's go over the basic connections between Emu and Cassiopeia. 1. They are both on a chair above the heavens. 2. Both have 5 stars connected to them. Cassiopeia's constellation has 5 stars, and Emu has the 5 elder stars directly under her command. Now, as we all know, Oda loves using it, let's use the concept of 2 sides of the same coin. If we were to mirror this story, let's mirror Cassiopeia's myth with possible roles in One Piece. First, we have Cassiopeia being Emu, Poseidon being the ancient weapon in One Piece, obviously, and 𝙲𝚘𝚙𝚒𝚗 possibly being the Sea Kings. Last but not least, we also have Perseus being Joy Boy. Our theory is that with the myth being mirrored, Emu herself was the queen who was jealous of the beauty of the mermaids and wanted them to be enslaved as trophies in order to conquer them, and even went as far as building the perfect heaven on an extremely large landmass for gods directly above the kingdom where the mermaids originated from. One mermaid out of them all, being Poseidon, wanted to fight back against this subjugation and tried to use her power to control the Sea Kings in order to aid her. But this wasn't enough, as she needed more help and sought the assistance of one person known to liberate beings across the world, Joy Boy. Joy Boy promised Poseidon that they were able to liberate all the fishmen being terrorized, but with them being defeated somehow, Joy Boy couldn't fulfill the promise they gave to Poseidon, but its tale was written down for generations to come. Now, throughout One Piece, we've seen how mermaids have been treated, and we must pay attention to both sides, the beauty and the horror. The beautification of mermaids has been in One Piece since the very beginning, although 60% of it has been done by Sanji, to be fair, but still, mermaids are seen as majestic creatures that only appear by miracles and are praised for their immense beauty. Yet, because of this, they're seen as the most valuable prizes for others to obtain. Mermaids are valued higher than anything else, and the rich and powerful attempt to enslave them in auctions or other means in order to obtain them as a trophy. Even the celestial dragons, whose attitude towards almost anything beneath Marijois is seen as pitiful and disgusting, are highly interested in mermaids. And we've seen this in 2 very specific situations that caused quite some tension. And both situations were caused by the same dumbass. First, we have Charlos trying to buy Camie at the slave auction in Sabaody, which led to the most unexpected turn of events pre-time skip. And second, we have Charlos trying to make Shirahoshi his own at the Reverie, and then proceeded to get some sense knocked into his idiotic brain. The celestial dragons have always been interested in mermaids, and it's been inherently passed down since the beginning, based on a tale of jealousy. Another connection we see between Cassiopeia and Emu is plants. In the Greek myth, Cassiopeia is seen to carry a palm branch and a mirror in order to symbolize her vanity and hubris. In One Piece, in the very few scenes we see Emu is inside of what appears to be a garden room, in which there's many different plants and flowers. Minor detail, but just another connection added to the list of the many things we've already seen. Now, to get a bit of a different perspective, I'm gonna pass this on to my boy Sunlight.
What's going on, everyone? Captain of the Sunlight Alliance, ready to give my thoughts. So a growing consensus across the community is that Emu is a girl, and a tale of jealousy would be an interesting play on this character. Something that goes hand in hand with jealousy is a need for control. So if Emu's character is based around the myth of Cassiopeia, I could see a situation in which Emu took advantage of the old establishment's fear of the growing power of the ancient kingdom. She presented herself in a way that led the old establishment into submission, and convinced them that her solution was the the only solution. That way, in the end, she could erase not only what she was jealous of, but also what she felt she needed to have control over. And that's the crux of this idea, really. These feelings of anger and jealousy all stemmed from a need to control. It would make sense if Emu is a character who views themselves as the sole protector of the balance of the world, oblivious to any of the pain being caused by their actions. If she views it as correct, then it must be correct. It's stubborn mindsets like these in people with positions of power that really prevent civilizations from ever improving their material conditions, which in the world of One Piece is drowning in a sea of oppression and segregation.
Now obviously the real question is, if Emu is based on being Cassiopeia, what will she do against the mermaids in the future? Well, to answer this question, we will have to go back and see the arc that heavily foreshadowed not only Emu's existence, but the whole structure of the world government, and that's Dressrosa. And obviously, the main figure who parallels Emu and Dressrosa is Doflamingo. I mean, do you see these two panels? They're literally identical, except for one small yet heavily important detail. In Dofi's panel, we only see 4 figures bending down to him, and the only one missing is Corazon, who we know betrays Doflamingo in the future. Does this mean that there will be one member of the Gorosei who will betray Emu? Well, there's already a great theory video on that topic done by Threevil, but this whole conversation helps establish a key piece of information between Doflamingo and Emu. Now, with that being said, we have to use the concept of how Oda mirrors the many different arcs in One Piece with one another, whether it's from pre-time skip or post-time skip. Now, the main thing to mirror in Dressrosa to understand more context about Emu is Doflamingo's true desire, his one dream he has been chasing for so many years, and that's the Ope Ope no Mi. But it's not necessarily the fruit that he is after, but what one of the fruit's abilities can do for him, and that's the perpetual youth surgery. Dofi stated that with the perpetual youth surgery, he would have been able to use the sacred treasure at Marijua, and would have already seized true world power. Now, in order to flip this situation, Emu would already have the ability that Dofi seeks, and not just the sacred treasure of Marijua. In order to reign for 800 years after the Void Century, Emu must have used the perpetual youth surgery. But the more interesting thing is the fact that it might not have been Emu's true intentions to begin with. And what I mean is that Emu wanted to use the perpetual youth surgery for a different purpose. And that purpose is very simple: to become the most beautiful person in the world, to appease her hubris and vanity. Throughout history, we've seen the many myths and tales centered around the idea of eternal youth, like the Fountain of Youth for example, and how youth directly correlates to absolute beauty. But if one person could be youthful for an eternity, it would allow them to become the most beautiful person in the world. This is the true secret of Emu and how they became the king of the world. Because of jealousy of an innocent race's unfathomable beauty, Emu turned to oppression of the entire race, building the red line directly above them, enslaving mermaids as pets and slaves, and discriminating them as lower creatures. And it all happened through the course of 800 years. But it only began because Emu was able to obtain the one thing that they considered pure beauty, and that's perpetual youth. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This theory was a lot of fun to make, and I'm so glad that it's finally out there. Huge shout out to Sunlight Alliance for his side of the theory as well, so make sure to subscribe to both of our channels for more One Piece content, although I'm pretty sure that most of you are already subscribed to them. Hope everyone has a great day, and as